Hi everyone, this is Becky from My Creative Life. Today I am going to be sharing another journal layout using some of the new items I got recently. I shared a video here on my channel where I got some new Tim Holtz items and I was really excited to use them. So you can see that I pulled out my linen tapes and my paper scraps there, my wallpaper scraps, that's the name of the paper pack, I believe. I also have those floral die cuts there on my desk as well, and I will use quite a bit of those on this layout. Now the first thing I'm going to work on, of course, would be my background. So I'm just choosing my pattern paper here, and then I'll go ahead and get started. So my first step here would be to add some stenciling to the background. I am using this gold ink pad right now, but I'm not really getting the bright gold that I was looking for, but I just went ahead and added it to the entire background anyway. Now, when working on my background, I do not expect to see all of the stenciling at the end, of course. And all the other items I add to my background, my paints and so on, I do not expect to see it all at the end. I'm just looking for layers and layers and layers of little details that I can see peeking out in my background that will add interest to my layout. So now I'm gonna go ahead, after applying that stencil with the gold ink, I'm gonna add my linen tape. And you can see the two that I choose to use would be the florals. And I am just adding this randomly to my background, going in with going into this layout. I did not have an exact plan in my head what I wanted to do. I just knew what I wanted to use. So here I'm just using the linen tape right now, adding a few strips of those, and then I'll go ahead and add the second one as well. Now today I am using the Recollections journal that I used on my last layout, and I decided to use this one because I want to use it up and it don't seem to be able to take a lot of wet mediums on here. So anytime I'm doing anything similar to this process today where there's a lot of dry stuff, just washi or collage work and so on, I will go ahead and pull this out, try to get this journal used up. Now here I decided on just using this one pattern paper, and I was going to add it next to those linen tapes, but I decided to go ahead and use it as a border all the way around. And at the end, you do not see this beautiful pattern paper. You see pieces of it peeking out, but you definitely won't see the entire border like you are right now. And some of the strips vary in the width that I added on here, and I'm just using one of my glue stick to go ahead and adhere this down. So here I'm just going in with some vintage photo distress ink and a makeup sponge and just inking the edges of all of those linen tapes that I added before. And I am using that distress ink directly on the edge of my layout right now, inking the edges really messily. I also add some on those the linen tapes as well. And I decided to go in once again with the same stencil and the vintage photo distress ink, and I'm going to add some on my background. And I do go over some parts of the linen tapes as well, and that way they're going to be blended into the background as well. So now to blend my linen tape into my background a little bit more, I'm going over it all with some white paint and that stencil once again in just a few areas on my background. And then I'll use the finger dauber and extend that stenciled background that I am doing right now with the white paint, and it just extend it out onto my layout. So now you can see my background is pretty busy already with all of these different patterns on there and even the stenciling that I added before. So I'm going to push it back a tiny bit right now using some of this white paint, just fading it out a little bit. And then I'll move on to adding on my floral pieces. Now adding on my floral pieces here, I decided to ink the edges with the vintage photo. And then I'll go ahead and ink the edges with this, this stencil butter as well. This is from the Crafters Workshop. It is gold. I cannot remember the exact gold that it is. There are several different golds available, I think, like maybe 2 or 3 actually. Anyway, I will go ahead and link the one that I'm using today in my description box. But if you remember at the beginning of the video when I used the stencil with that gold ink pad, I was not happy with the look I was getting. This is exactly what I wanted at the beginning. And this is a stencil butter you use with a craft knife and a stencil, but you can definitely use it as I did today with a finger dauber and go ahead and ink your edges like I did on my layout there. You can see I inked the entire edge, and I also added some around the linen tapes as well. And of course I inked the edges of my floral pieces, and it worked perfectly. So I do not need to look for a brand new gold ink pad. I am going to use this instead from now on. So now you can see I added that Julie Nutting girl on the right page. She is not going to stay there till the end. You can see right away she's a little bit tiny for this bold background, but she stays there for now, and I'll go ahead and arrange all my florals on my background. And once I like where they are, I'm just using my art glitter glue and go ahead and adhere all of these pieces to my layout. So this part of the process is a little bit long. You can feel free to fast forward through if you like to the next step where I add some more stenciling. But I really wanted to go ahead and leave in this part of the process so you can see, if you wanted to, exactly how I layered up my florals and how I got the look at the end of this process. So I'm just going to go ahead, continue tucking these flowers in exactly where I want them, adding my art glitter glue, adhering them to the background. And you'll notice also that I do cut some of these apart just to make them work for my cluster that I'm adding here. So at this point, I'm still working on adding details to my girl to make her stand out a bit more against that really bold background. And I added in some stenciling behind her using the black Soot Distress ink. And you can see I'm also pulling in that black soot elsewhere on the layout just to have a nice balance. And it also helps those beautiful colors pop as well on those floral pieces. Now to help my florals stand out a bit more, I am using the black soot ink together with the makeup sponge. That way I can get into those little tiny areas and just go ahead and outline my floral pieces using the black soot. Now adding in the shading around these floral pieces, I was not getting the look I was going for, but I will go ahead and move on for now to my word phrases. And I am using some Tim Holtz metallic stickers here. And I pulled out this one here. Now this is a really bold look here because that black is shiny and it's really dark compared to the black soot. I am going to go ahead and cut it apart and add it to, let's see, 4 different areas on this background. 3 different areas actually. And then I'll pull in 2 other stickers as well. So those word phrases, they say dream, wonder, explore, discover, take risks. And I'm just trying to figure out exactly where I want it to be, because once I add that to an area, I do need to balance out that bold, shiny black on those word phrases. And I decided to go ahead and tuck them into my florals. And I definitely love how that looked. Now I will go ahead and change out my girl, add a little bit more black where her hair would be, and that definitely makes a lot of difference in the end, especially where I used these word phrases. It helped balance it out a lot more. So now that I have those on there, I am gonna go ahead. Here I'm just adding one more to the bottom of the girl. And here I'm gonna move on to adding some details to her. But like I said, I'm not gonna focus on that too much. So I'm gonna skip ahead. And I decided here to go ahead and work on the florals once again. So you can see I am using my Posca paint pen, adding in a little bit more shading to these floral pieces. I'm still not getting exactly what I was looking for. I do move on to using my white gel pen as well. But for now, I am gonna go back to the stencil butter. You can see I'm just dipping my Dauber directly in the tub of butter and using it with the stencil here. And this helps it just dry really, really quickly compared to if I was to use it with the craft knife. Of course, I would get a little bit of dimension using it with the craft knife, but like I said before, I just wanted this to dry really quickly. So I'm just using it with the Dauber. And I love the pop that it gave to this layout using that little bit of gold all over this background. So now I am using my florals as a guide, and wherever I see a little bit of white peeking through, I'm using my white gel pen and just highlighting those areas. And this is just to brighten up my floral pieces. I also pulled out my chisel tip Posca paint pen here in white, and also adding some more details to my background using that white paint pen. So another attempt here to help my florals stand out, and it finally clicked in my head. Go ahead and highlight the florals, not the shape of the die cuts. Not sure why it took so long for me to figure that out, but I am going in right now with my Stabilo All Pencil here and just outlining each one of these floral pieces and just using it as a guide, the florals as a guide. Wherever I see some dark areas, that's where I drew my lines to outline the florals. And here I'm going to change up the girl on my layout because it definitely needed a larger focal point. So I'm cutting out from a magazine this girl. I went ahead, tucked her in behind the florals. And I'm just adhering back those florals on the background there. And now I'm going to work on her head. I did not want the head of the girl that's already there, so I went through my Dylusions Collage collage sheets. You can see on the back there it says set 3. That is the set that this piece came from. I'm going to use only the head, so I definitely want to write set 3 on the bottom part of that piece, so next time I use that piece I'll know exactly which set it comes from, because I do have all of them fuzzy cut out into one big box. So this way I can definitely be able to tell you guys which set it comes from. I also use one of the washi strips, one of Dylusions washi tape with all eyes. And I chose this one with some red. I'm going in right now with my white gel pen and just highlighting the whites in her eyes and the black as well. And I'm adding a little bit of details to the hat using a gold gel pen. I also use my white Posca paint pen as well. I'm going to use my black Posca paint pen to outline her body and her clothing. And I'm just going to go ahead and outline her here right now. But later on you'll see I'll go ahead and use the black Posca paint pen and fill that in. I'm going to use, I believe, a red paint pen to add some details to her top that she's wearing, along with a green and yellow. So now to finish up my florals, I'm just gonna go ahead and add a little bit of that Posca paint pen in black to the centers. And I am also gonna highlight these 3 pieces that I have here that's just fading into the background a bit too much. I'm just gonna add some details to them using the black Posca paint pen. And I really love how this turned out. I wanted my linen tape to show up a bit more than they do right now, but that's totally fine. I have lots more, so I can do another layout using them and maybe get that look later on. But for now, I love the twists and turns that this one took, and I love the end results. I love the pop of gold on this layout. And finally, I was able to highlight my floral pieces, as you can see here. Figured that out. And I love how this layout turned out. I hope you guys enjoyed the process. And if you did, be sure to give me a thumbs up before you leave. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you'll know once I add new videos. I want to thank you all for watching today, and until next time, bye.